Happy Thursday to you, and welcome on in to another edition of WagerTalk Extra, where we want to remind you that no matter what you're cashing on, it's all going to spend the same. That cash will be just as green, and can't believe it's our final show of the week already on Super Bowl week. And on today's show, we have some more UFC 285 thoughts coming your way. It is a jam-packed card. We got two experts chatting at that at the top, and then we're going to end with my man Andy Lang. We're going to talk some different Super Bowl props. You're going to want to stay tuned for it. It'll get you ready to go, not just for the big game, but for the big halftime show as well. I'm your host, Dan Alexander. Happy to be here with you. And Kyle Anthony going to be joining me at the top. Moneyline Matt going to be also following him up. Both of them talking some UFC. And as I mentioned, Andy Lang, novelty props is I guess what we'll call it. But trust me, it devolves rather quickly. We'll talk with Andy to end the show here. But let's start off here at the top with a man who came on here and told you, hey, why don't you sprinkle a little bit on a 205 dog? 2-0 out the gate, Kyle. So that was on a card that we were both kind of thinking, it's subpar. But I think you showed the folks 2-0, a 205 dog. Doesn't matter what the card is. My man Kyle is always ready to break it down. I know you're feeling good here on a Thursday, brother.
Oh, I definitely am. We're on the heels of a big card. I'm excited about it. Plus, me and you before the show chatting about some of the wins we had. I'm feeling good, man. I'm ready to keep this going, man. I'm ready to just keep this going.
I absolutely love it. And right out of the gate, when we're able to have a 2-0 sweep of the free plays, it's great. But, people should kind of be expecting that almost. We're not going to win every single play all the time. But, Kyle, with what you did last year in the UFC, this has been a major bread and butter for you. And before we get into the event this weekend, we're going to talk a little method of victory in the main event. And then we also have a distance fight, maybe an over or an under. But, what was it that drew you to MMA? You ever practice in it, or just how did you get interested in it? Because it seems like you have a major edge betting this sport, and it's not just from a numbers perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely my past life. I was a black belt in karate. Not that that's going to make you a great handicapper by any means, but I just started really getting into it, loving the sport, and then just started kind of diving into the numbers. And the funny part about it was a lot of my friends, this is going years and years ago, a lot of friends were like, you got to start telling people these picks. Like, you got to start discussing these and how you did it. So once I started doing that, I really just dived into the fights, dived into every little nuance of it. And you said stats wise too, but definitely rewatching, diving into clips and everything like that always really, I think, gets me a little fine tuned into what I like.
Well, and for the trolls out there on social media, Kyle just told you he is a black belt after all. So maybe stay in your lane a little bit is all I'm saying. Hey, man, let's start getting into this event because I can't wait to watch. It's going to be the perfect appetizer for the Super Bowl. And why not get our bankrolls ready to go and live bet on the Super Bowl with this main event here? You got a method of victory that you wanted to get into for this main event between Makhachev and Voklanovski. So I'll hand the mic over to the expert that went 2-0 last week. What do you got for us, Kyle?
Yeah, this is the first time that the number 1 pound-for-pound champion is going up against the number 2 pound-for-pound champion. And both of these guys are blistering at this point. You've got Volkanovski coming off beating Max Holloway a third time, which is impressive when you sweep somebody in a trilogy who was the featherweight GOAT. You sweep them. That's going to impress everybody. That's also why he's the number 1 pound for pound. And then Islam Makhachev coming off of beating Charles Oliveira inside the distance, second round, impressive performance, submission victory. But really the big question everybody wants to know is Islam going to be able to take Volkanovski down, and can he keep him there? Now, I think early in this fight, Volkanovski's footwork, his cardio, the way that he moves around the cage, I think can help him. He's good in the clinch. He's obviously a very knowledgeable, smart human being when it comes to those particular situations. But this is him coming up in weight, and I think that is such a big disadvantage for Volkanovski. He's not only going to be the smaller guy, he is going to be by far the weaker guy in this spot. You've seen Islam picking up guys in his weight class, body slamming them. I think the strength advantage is going to be very different. And also the fact is if you look at really what Volkanovski has done over his last few fights, over his title reign, is a lot of these guys are strikers. A lot of these guys are comfortable on the feet. They're going to work the feet. They're going to stand at range. They're going to allow Volkanovski kind of get his offense off. And I think the threat of takedowns is absolutely going to make Volkanovski timid, throwing the shots, doing what he normally does at range, working. And now you look at the fact that if he doesn't get those, if he doesn't able to really work that offense, I think that's going to hurt him. Plus, his most powerful weapon for Volkanovski is going to be leg kicks. I don't think he can even fire these things. We've seen recently Brian Ortega took him down, worked him. I think that's also going to be a spot where he can take him down and leverage that as well too. And the last part about it, again, I mean, we can't talk about Islam's wrestling enough, but his chain wrestling is absolutely fantastic. He gets these takedowns. He shoots double legs, single legs, hip toss, inside trips. He does it all. So the way that I'm really looking at this after really kind of going over all that is really the fact that I don't see Volkanovski surviving. I really don't see him surviving. There's a reason that this line is this wide. And no, I'm not talking about placing a minus 400 number on Islam, but I think it's rightfully so. So to get off that number, for me, I got to whittle it down to the method here. I think inside the distance is an absolute steal in this spot. It's around even money. It's gone up to about minus 120. It is such a great spot. I think he muscles him down. He takes control. And I think there is really not many paths for Volkanovski to last 5 rounds and win by decision. I think Islam runs through him, wins inside the distance. The minus 120, minus 110 is a great number.
Yeah, and especially, as you mentioned, 5-round fight here, so you're getting almost an extra 2 rounds of that value for him to get home and get it done inside the distance. That's my man, Kyle Anthony. You can grab his best bets right now over at WT.buzz/KA. Well, talking all about this distance makes me wonder, Kyle, you got a distance fight for the folks? When we talk distance here on WagerTalk Extra, we're looking at maybe a fight that, despite what the odds say, might be going longer or shorter. So we got this Maddalena and Brown fight. You got a distance wager for us in this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is a spot here. You got Maddalena. He's a minus 350, and now the comeback on Randy Brown, right around the plus 255 mark in this spot. So if you're looking at the total right now, it's 2.5. Plus 120 on the over, minus 140 on the under. And this is a spot here where Randy Brown is definitely a tough out. Now, I think this line already is a little wide. I think it's a little wide. As much as I like Jack, it's a little wide. Randy is tall, lanky, he's rangy. He always is going to have a reach advantage over pretty much all of his opponents. And he's starting to now utilize the footwork, utilize the grappling. That has started to really put things together for him. Where you got Jack Maddalena, 13-2 in his pro career. He lost the first 2 fights of his career, won 13 straight. He's 3-0 in the UFC, and all of them have finished in the first round in the UFC, all 3 fights. So he has definitely had a lot of great things. But if you're looking at the way that maybe Randy Brown can find success, and I think it is the grappling. I think if he can kind of smother him, kind of take him down, and not that Jack is going to just kind of wilt when he's on the ground, but I do think that is a path if he can get on him, work him, slow him down. We know that Jack is going to be aggressive. He is going to push the pace. He is going to come out firing. That's the way he's been. And the fact that he's really good at drawing those types of fights out of his opponent. He's very good at doing that. And I think that's something that he's going to be able to do in this spot. But really also on the feet, Randy Brown is very hittable. So he's a very hittable guy. He doesn't really do too much. He can be rangy. He can do all those things. But if you draw him into a fight, he's going to be the kind of guy that's going to be taking those shots. I like the quick developing combinations from Jack. I think the snapping jab really sets things up very nicely. And you've even seen Randy dropped recently by Chaos Williams. His last 2 losses, both by knockout. Now, I am saying a lot of things why I would maybe think Jack would get the knockout. Now, Jack Della Maddalena inside the distance is right around even money as well, too. And I don't think that's a bad spot. But I actually think Jack pushes this pace, and it could be anyone getting that finish. So I actually do like under 2.5 rounds, minus 140. You're paying up a little bit more here, but you're getting both fighters. I think that Jack will push the pace, force action, and I think a lot of big shots are going to happen in that first round. So I like the under. I think it's a safe spot.
Yeah, and hearing that breakdown from Kyle Anthony makes me say that this might be the candidate for my fight to watch on this card. Sounds like it's going to be quite the affair
Oh
between
yeah.
two guys who can throw some bombs. Love to hear that, Kyle. Always appreciate having you on. Hopefully, we go 2-0 again for the folks here this week. But when people head on over to your page at Wager Talk, what are they going to find loaded already?
Yeah, so I have a 5% max play up right now on a nice 4-0 run on these, and really like this spot. It's tilting on like about a minus or a minus 105 to a plus 105 range, depending where you're getting it. Love the spot on this max play. Have other plays up there. I got another like plus 190 in there. I have some spots that I love, excited about it, and let's keep cashing. Let's keep cashing.
Man, it was his birthday last week, and he's the one that keeps giving you guys gifts with all these plus money plays. Love to see it. There's the thoughts from the best UFC capper that we have on the Wager Talk roster. So let's swing over, see what they think over at SportsMemo, see what one of our best cappers over there has to say. And that, of course, is my man, Moneyline Matt. He's one of my recurring guests over there at SportsMemo today. Happy to have him on here making his Wager Talk Extra debut. Matt, how's it going, brother?
Hey, good, man. It's great. Good to be back on a show with you, Dan. And it's a good time right now. You know, we got the Super Bowl coming up. We got UFC 284. We got some huge NBA trades dropping. We got the NFL awards tonight. If you got any of those futures going, I know I do. So, yeah, it's a good time in sports right now. Ready to talk about some stuff.
Yeah, it's the twilight before all of us football fans get a little depressed that the NFL is over.
Yes.
But hey, XFL is right around the corner, Matt. So we'll be just fine. We'll be ready for the St. Louis Battlehawks coming to a set near you. So but we're not here to talk XFL here quite yet. Maybe that'll be down the pike here on Wager Talk Extra. But let's get into this UFC 285 card. One of your favorite things and one of the most profitable things that you've been handicapping over at SportsMemo. And you have a fight to watch here. We're looking at this Rodriguez-Emmett matchup, and you have a pretty strong lean in this one. What are we looking at here, Matt?
Yeah, so we're actually going to be looking at the co-main event this Saturday, and that's going to be Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. And in this bout, Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett face off as the co-main event. Rodriguez comes into this bout 15-3 overall and 3-1-1 over his last 5. Only his last fight, if you can recall, it was against Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega blew out his shoulder in that bout, so it ended in the first round. So there's kind of a lot of unknown with Yair Rodriguez, too, because he had over a year layoff at one point in time, came back, and he had a Max Holloway bout, which he lost, and then came back and beat Brian Ortega, which, again, was expected to be a great fight, but the shoulder blew out in the first round. So a lot of us handicappers didn't exactly get to see exactly what we wanted from Yair Rodriguez in that bout. But in his history, he has had some impressive wins. Like I said, he did win over Brian Ortega. It was a shoulder blowout, but he did beat Jeremy Stephens on top of that. Also had a draw with Jeremy Stephens. And then he is someone who has beaten the Korean Zombie as well, but no huge performances as of late. Josh Emmett is definitely going to be his toughest test as of late. So I think this is going to be a very interesting bout and a very good fight in terms of stylistic matchups. And as for Josh Emmett, he is primarily a wrestler, but as of late, he's really been falling in love with his striking and is very powerful in his hands as well. Emmett is on a 5-fight win streak, 18-2 overall, and has won most recently against Calvin Kattar, and he beat Dan 50K Ige, Shane Burgos, so he also does have some impressive victories to go with it. And for me, I'm leaning towards Josh Emmett in this spot, the underdog, actually. Josh Emmett is averaging 4.28 strikes per minute on 4.29 strikes in return, so basically averaging every single one that he gives out, he's kind of getting one in return. But again, I'm kind of looking to the wrestling in this bout because Yair Rodriguez is one of those fighters who does struggle with takedown defense at times. But again, going back to Josh Emmett's power, he has 11 knockdowns in his last fight. Or in his last 11 fights, 8 fights, He's the type of fighter who likes to come forward. He likes to pressure you. I also think some pressure on the cage will be big in this bout as well. Emmett averages 1.04 takedowns per bout on about 40% accuracy. And again, I think this is very essential for Josh Emmett in this fight because if he doesn't take Yair Rodriguez to the ground. Rodriguez is one of those type of fighters. He's a black belt in Taekwondo. He loves to strike. He loves to throw spinning heel kicks, spinning head kicks. He throws crazy combinations and things like that. So if Josh Emmett does not pressure, grapple with Rodriguez, try and get him to the ground, I do actually believe Rodriguez will have the advantage when standing in this bout. But again, I think Emmett has the more path to victory here, and in the end will rely on his wrestling. So I think that will help him to get the nod in this fight. Another thing that I really do like in this bout is the decision. This is a minus 165 to go to the decision. And, you know, in Josh Emmett's last 5 fights, 4 of them have gone to a decision. And as for Rodriguez, in his last 5, only 2 have gone to the decision. But again, one of those bouts was Brian Ortega with that shoulder popping out. Can't really expect that. So for me, this is one of those bouts where I really do like this to go the distance. Josh Emmett, once again, is one of those fighters who he has many paths to victory. He can get you to the ground. He can get ground control on top of that. And what that does is it tends to run the clock as well. And then these 2 fighters as well, in their entire UFC careers, both of them combined have only been knocked out twice. So for me, I have a heavy lean towards Josh Emmett to win this fight outright, but my favorite play in this bout will actually be going to the distance. I think there's a lot of paths here, and I think the main path is going to be going to the distance. So that's my main look for this fight in Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett.
And Moneyline Matt also trying to get a dog home here to kick off his WagerTalk Extra stint. You like to see it. But hey, speaking of distance, we were talking about the main event just a few moments ago with Kyle Anthony. He had a method of victory for us in that fight. But again, talking about distance, why don't we break down that Makhachev and Volkanovski from your opinion on either how long or how short this might end up being?
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, this is the one that everyone's looking forward to. This is the main event, and it's Islam Makhachev against Alexander Volkanovski for the lightweight title. And not only just the lightweight title, these guys are going for the pound-for-pound title in the UFC on top of that. So a lot riding on this bout. Islam comes into this fight 23-1 in his fight career with 5 straight finishes. Islam is primarily a wrestler, known for his cardio, but as of late has looked really good in terms of striking as well. As for Volkanovski, his fights have gone to a decision his last 4 out of 5. And even though I favor Islam here, one of my favorite angles is actually the over 2.5 rounds. So this is a 5-round bout. But the over 2.5 rounds is sitting at minus 150 at this point in time. And I still do see some value here. I see the value here because, again, a lot of this is going to come down to the takedowns. And the main thing that you're going to be looking at is Islam's 3.4 takedowns per bout per attempt on 65% accuracy. While as for Alexander Volkanovski, he has 73% takedown defense. And another aspect that I'm somewhat looking at here is actually Volkanovski's height. Volkanovski is 5'6" to Islam's 5'10", and the last time Islam faced a fighter of Volkanovski's height, it actually went to the decision, and Islam didn't have a single takedown in that entire fight. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Islam isn't going to take down Volk whatsoever, but he's got a lower center of gravity. He's an ex-rugby player, and you know the rugby players, the football players, everything is about base and balance. So for me, I really do think Volkanovski will be able to withstand Islam for some time here and keep him off of him. You know, the submission is plus 165 for Islam, so that's definitely the favorable outcome in this bout. That's what a lot of people are looking to. And although I can't take that away, you know, it's a minus 400 favorite in terms of Islam. And obviously, I do like Islam here, but with that minus 400, I don't see a ton of value there. But for me personally, I do still see some value with the over 2.5 rounds. Once again, it's minus 150, and it's that center of gravity with Volkanovski. Volkanovski is also very solid on his feet and striking behind that jab, keeping people away from him with that jab. So again, that's another way to try and keep Islam off of him. I don't think Islam or Alexander Volkanovski, either of them, will get knocked out. I do believe if this fight is finished within 5 rounds, it will be by a submission by Islam. But I think Volkanovski is going to be able to keep this going. You know, he's known for his cardio. He's known for his ability to keep people off of him with his takedown defense. Again, it's a 73% takedown defense rate. And then on top of that, an ex-rugby player, very familiar with having a solid base, very strong in his core. So again, I think I'm going to definitely be going with the minus 150 over 2.5 rounds in this bout. Definitely give the edge to Islam here as well. But at minus 400, do you really want to take that? It might just be a parlay piece or anything along those lines. But with the minus 150, I still see some value there. So that's where I'm going with Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski.
So two different ways that you could be looking at this main event, and you can actually get both of these guys' plays home if you budget it out there right. So Matt, when people head on over to your page, sm.buzz/MLM, you have anything loaded already for 285? I know you probably have a cavalcade of props locked in for Super Bowl 57 too.
Yes, sir. So when they head over to my page, you can find some UFC plays locked and loaded. Actually, right when I'm getting off of this show, I'm going to get my NBA plays loaded as well. And then I'm going to have a Super Bowl package. And on top of that, we'll have a Super Bowl spread pick. And then we'll have some of my favorite player props on top of that. And then if you're interested at all, myself and Eric Pauly have the Bettor's Almanac podcast in which we broke down the Super Bowl. You can find that over on sportsmemo.com. We give our favorite looks. We give our favorite prop plays, a little bit of everything. So there's another angle there as well if you're trying to get some picks and plays heading into Sunday.
And Moneyline Matt, before the show, shared with me that he will be having to check his phone all Super Bowl Sunday long. He got somehow roped in for a Super Bowl wedding. So hop below in the comments if you ever had to deal with anything like that. I mean, I get it on an NFL Sunday, but a Super Bowl Sunday, a Super Bowl wedding, oh, man, that's rough there. Hey, you got full thoughts on UFC 285 all week long. If you're not prepared, you haven't been listening here on Wager Talk Extra. You should be ready to rock for Saturday's event. And now to end Super Bowl week, as promised, it's time to go off the rails here at the end of the week, talk a little Super Bowl props. And for that, we go to Andy Lang. He's the host of Prop It Up here on Wager Talk TV. He's also, in my opinion, the best novelty prop handicapper that the world has ever known. I mean, last year, Andy, wasn't one of the best cashes that we had on a Super Bowl prop regarding would cleavage be shown or not on a certain individual? I mean, this is right in your wheelhouse, brother.
Yeah, it was Mickey during the national anthem, and as most people thought it was a joke and a funny prop, it was pretty easy to handicap. You just go back and look, and on her music video, she showed cleavage. Any live performance that she did not. This was a pretty easy cash. She came out in what was basically a turtleneck, showed a lot of respect for the national anthem, did a fantastic job, and that was an easy cash, and it did not take much research. So these novelty props, they are novelty, but they are also profitable, and this is what I love specializing in.
No, this is tailor-made for the first ever Super Bowl edition this week of Wager Talk Extra. And when you broke that down on Prop It Up, which you can hear each and every Friday here on Wager Talk TV, 10 a.m., Andy Lang alongside Andrew McGinnis and Matt Josephs. They have a great show going tomorrow getting you ready in this prop market. But we want to go a little bit deeper. When you dropped that one, I knew that this would be a match made in heaven, because we have a new segment that we're going to start here that will probably be semi-recurring. We call it on WTE, wait, you can bet that? Yeah, some of these times these novelty props will blow your mind that you're actually able to place wagers on them. But as Andy said, sometimes they're ultimately easy to handicap. And as I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, the cleavage expert himself, Andy Lang, I want to know what your thoughts are in this halftime performance, because I was diving deep looking for some props to talk about here, and I found one that might be a little bit juicy, pun intended. Rihanna to expose cleavage on stage. There's a yes or no prop. Yes is minus 300. No is plus 200. So my resident expert here, Andy, what are we thinking on this prop? You do any research?
I did. It's funny because my friends generally know me as an ass guy, and now I'm a cleavage expert. So I feel like we're covering all bases here.
We're really getting to know you, Andy.
Yeah. Listen, as long as the bet's cash, no, it doesn't matter. So this was a little bit different one to handicap because she has not done a live televised performance in quite a few years. Last one was at the Grammys, and she absolutely showed cleavage. She's a show person, puts on a great live performance. She recently did a spot on Ellen, and Ellen, wears basically a scarf and a turtleneck. It's a very very conservative daytime talk show, and Rihanna was covered up and later than the Super Bowl promo. It's a great Super Bowl. And I mean, the girls are out to fly in that one. She's wearing this big necklace, but at the 10-second mark, you can see this side shot where they are very propped up. Listen, this is the girl that did the song S&M. Okay. She's going to show cleavage. This is the free space on the bingo card for your Super Bowl props. Like, this is going to happen. She's going to be performing many songs. And with these novelty props, make sure you check what the rules are on the certain books. But the ones that I have found said she only needs to show cleavage at any point during the performance. So at least once you will see some cleavage from Rihanna. This is a gimme.
So this is the free space on the bingo card, and what a breakdown there, even referencing the discography of one Rihanna. Well, Andy, part of this show was getting some of our handicappers a little bit more laid back, getting to know you guys a little bit better outside of just handicapping things, and you volunteered that you yourself are a bit of an ass man. So the next question that I have for you, Andy, actually ties in perfectly, because for those juice adverse, maybe they don't want to lay minus 300 for the cleavage prop. But what about Rihanna to expose butt cheek on stage? That is exactly the verbiage that is written, and this is only minus 160. The no on this one plus 120. So you did say the song S&M maybe gives you a little bit of a free roll here as well, but any of your research tell us if we will be seeing any cheek or not?
Well, this is a difficult one because you're really up to the discretion of the books as to what their opinion is on this one. So I'm going to lean slightly to the no.
Oh,
Showing cleavage is one thing, but having a butt cheek hang out is another. She's not a big girl. I kind of expect this to be a little bit of conservative on the backside, if you will. And the other thing is you need the right camera angle from behind or maybe from the side. It's a lot more difficult to get an actual butt cheek and to get a yes from the books. So I'm going to slightly lean to the no. But I would also recommend that this is not a bet that I'm very confident in. There's too much up to interpretation of the sports book. So I would stay off of it. But if you are going to play it, lean to the no.
when I was being handed my communications diploma, Andy, I dreamed of being on a show breaking down things that really changed the world, just like this. So that's our inaugural segment of Wait, you can bet that? And yes, not only can you bet it, you can make money on it. Andy Lang did last year. Let's do it again. 2 free plays there for you. Maybe the free bingo space in one of them. Andy, one of the things I love about the Super Bowl is, we're half joking here, but again, they will accept your wagers on these, and you are able to, expose it and get some action down on these and make money on them. So anything else that you've kind of seen prop wise that might make you say, wait, they're allowing me to bet this, but I still can. So what are you thinking prop wise? Just maybe one more that you have for the folks before we turn them loose for Super Bowl week.
Sure, you can bet on will Rob Gronkowski make the kick of destiny. This is going to take
Ooh.
place in the third. This is going to take place in the third quarter. It's a big FanDuel promotion. Now, so the general, we'll keep it simple. If Rob Gronkowski makes a kick, everybody that bet on the Super Bowl gets a bonus. FanDuel has come out and said we're giving away the bonus even if he misses it. So if you bet on the Super Bowl, you're going to get your bonus. Dan, I once kicked for football, believe it or not. A 25-yard field goal is not hard to make. It's hard to make if you're dealing with a snap, a hold, and defensive pressure. There is none of that. All you got to do is get the ball over the crossbar, and that is actually not too hard. Listen, Rob Gronkowski was a professional athlete, but he still is in amazing shape. don't think the ego isn't going to get the better of him. He's not going to want to shank a kick. It's going to look awkward. You don't need to kick it that hard to get it over the crossbar. I expect Rob Gronkowski to nail this one. Not going to look as clean as a professional kicker. This is still a professional athlete wanting to do well on camera with millions and millions of eyes on him. Take yes for Rob Gronkowski to make the kick of destiny.
I love it, man. This is what Wager Talk Extra is all about. And if you want some extra money on your bankroll to end the NFL season, Andy, 5% plays for you this season have just been an absolute dream. And correct me if I'm wrong, there's one loaded right this moment that people can go grab over your page, wt.buzz/AL, right?
Yeah, amazing run, 20-8 on NFL 5% play. They just kept hitting. I don't think we normally play this many 5% plays, but they kept cashing. We hit win number 20 last NFL week. We're going for win number 21. That is just this season. So we're 20-8 on NFL 5% plays. We've got to hit this one to close out an amazing NFL season. That's up at WagerTalk.com. Looking forward to win number 21 in NFL 5% plays.
I know someone who's been rolling alongside all of those plays, and this is a man who has very much enjoyed the boon to my bankroll on the 20-8 run for my man Andy Lang, one of my favorite cappers we have at the site, and I also love how he dives deep down the board to find you money-making opportunities. That's what Wager Talk Extra is all about, and that does it for us. The Super Bowl week has come to a close, so when I see you next Tuesday, it'll either be time for a therapy session or a bit of a victory lap for me, but I'm hoping it's a victory lap for all of our handicappers that have joined us all week long. You're ready for 285, you're ready for rugby action, you're ready for the Waste Management Open, and now you're ready with the craziest of novelty props, thanks to us here on Wager Talk Extra. For Andy Lang, for Moneyline Matt, for Kyle Anthony, I'm Dan Alexander. Enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll see you next week right here on Wager Talk Extra.